Right. Item 2.3, our Nursing Program Expenditure Plan, Vice Chancellor Jan.2012. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Good morning. I have with me Ray York, my Dean for Industry Partnerships. And Chairman Himmelstein, as you're thinking about composition of the board and board members to serve on committees, I'd like to put out there that we have one and potentially two vacancies on the EdPAC, which is the advisory body for the jobs and economies side of our work. So for your consideration.
Thank you.
Item 2.3 is to seek your approval to proceed with the disbursement of funds in accordance to the Nursing Health Program Expenditure Plan. This is a Prop 98 budget line item that is very prescriptive and specific only to nursing. And this will continue our activities to support the high-cost nursing programs for their enrollment growth, their capacity building, and for reducing student attrition. So what we wanted to do is ask your approval to proceed with the disbursement that has already been approved and budgeted for.
This will be an RFP in the spring, correct?
It won't be a competitive grant, but basically the grants are just...
Can you press your button, please?
Thank you. This will be basically a general announcement. Most of these grants will be awarded to these colleges that already have existing programs, so it'll go out basically kind of on an apportionment process. There are other ones in which we will distribute out based on the second item, which is the 4.9, which looks at colleges that have additional or do not have existing programs. We want to give them an opportunity to also participate. And you can see that the criteria in terms of being able to receive those funds is, one, if they did not have an expansion program, and two, if they have an attrition higher rate of 15% or more. So those are some of the criteria we actually use for distributing those funds to new colleges.
It's just confusing it because it says here this spring we will conduct a competitive process to award grants for the next 2-year cycle.
What alignment is that now? Maybe I've got this wrong.
That is in the third paragraph on the analysis given to us. And the grants will be awarded based on the funding amount of $8.5 million.
Yes, I think you're right. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I was thinking about the EWD grants, which do go out competitive versus the nursing. Okay.
So can you explain how these grants are?
What happens is there are an RFP that we issue out. It has specific performance criteria. It has eligibility requirements. We issue them out probably at least give them 90-day turnaround, so to get the colleges enough time to be able to plan for it and write the grant, and they submit. Then, normally like what we do for EWD grants, we have a set of readers selected from the various fields, associated fields to read and rank and score accordingly. And then we distribute, make the announcements, and then we wait until the budget is approved, then we distribute the funds.
But is it based, these are colleges that have existing programs, and these
some of them are
funds that augment
correct? What they have, right. And there are opportunities for colleges that do not have expansion growth programs or have high attrition rates that they could also apply. So it allows, it's open-ended to allow new colleges to participate in the program.
Questions or comments from other board members? Member McDougall.
Yeah. I'd like to understand a bit more the allocation of funds for institutions that have attrition rates greater than 15%. That seems to be reverse performance-based funding, and I'm sure there's a good explanation for it. Why would they be getting funds if their attrition rate is so high?
Well, from what I understand, and my knowledge is limited to that, and I do apologize since I've relatively came to this program as a new dean not too long ago, but what occurs is that the program is meant to encourage students to retain and stay in the program, and to both encourage growth and if they have high attrition rates to retain them. So we ask the colleges before they can actually apply for the grants whether or not they have issues in terms of students dropping out and not being able to stay in the program. And therefore, a lot of times that might be attributed to the fact they do not have enough resources of funding to be able to retain them. So we use that as a base criteria to be able to identify who we need to target in terms of these specific funds for the program. I'm not really familiar in terms of all the criteria that each one of the local colleges uses to determine what that attrition rate is, but apparently historically we've been able to work with many of the colleges that can make that determination. And then that becomes, if you will, kind of the initial baseline eligibility criteria to be able to receive the funds if they do have attrition rates above that level.
I think it may be confusing, the labeling of this. One of the uses for funds actually ties into a principle advocated for by the student success workforce. So if for example, some of the colleges were experiencing higher attrition rate that they wanted, so that they weren't getting the student yield that they desired. Mm-hmm. So one of the interventions put in was case management, to identify what are the hurdles to the student actually completing. Is it transportation? Is it childcare? Is it all the wraparound services? So some of these funds go to, for example, supplementing the program with a case manager to help with those types of items. So that's one of the uses of the funds. And then tomorrow, as you know, we have begun the Jobs and Economy, Contribution to Jobs and Economy series. We're going to focus on healthcare, and our lead for the healthcare sector will be here as well as to answer further questions.
So it would be a 1 or 2 year funding allocation that enables a college to put into effect a special program to reduce attrition.
Right.
And the expectation is that they will improve and get better.
And
if attrition continues to be very high, I would assume that funding would not continue. Is that correct?
Normally in situations like that, yes. What would happen is we would look into it, find out exactly what's going on, and then normally what we do is have a conversation and then begin a process of a corrective action plan to show performance. And if that doesn't occur, then eventually we do make the decision that apparently the funds are not being used appropriately to meet the performance outcomes that is meant for the specific program. So we have that process in place.
I'm going to call on Member Baum, but just a follow-up question, if I could. How many grants do you anticipate giving out, and what are the sizes? I couldn't give you a round figure in terms of the grants. We have many of them that overlap during concurrent years. I would want to give you an answer now. Could I get that answer back to you in terms of the amount of grants? Yeah, sure. And I'll just say I'm just troubled a little bit, and I understand you're new to the position, but I'm not sure we have sufficient background on this. But Member Baum, go ahead.
Yeah, just because of that, I was going to make a suggestion that we're going to approve the framework here.
Right.
But then rather than the next time when it comes back, when the allocation of the grants they'll be part of our agenda, correct?
Right.
And then at that point, when it's part of the consent agenda or not, maybe we pull it and get some more detail as to how the funds are going to be employed. Because at that point, then I expect we'll see a list of districts with a number of grant awards.
Exactly.
And then you'll be able to give us more detail about how each of these grants are going to be done. So that's what I would recommend we do.
Okay.
Other board members? Member Malumed.
I guess when it comes back, I'd also be interested to hear about the programs that have had the attrition problems and how they've done in the past, just to give us that sense also. How is it working?
I would just ask, Vice Chancellor, is this a time-sensitive item?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We're planning to go out for release of funds beginning the new fiscal year.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And I would just say perhaps next time you could identify some expertise within your office on this so we could have a little more background. Okay. But with that, I think I understand, Member Baum, I think your suggestion is very good. So any other comments or questions from board members? I would entertain a motion.
I move to adopt the recommendation.
Made by Member Azumi, seconded by Member Malumed. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Vice Chancellor.
Thank you.